This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in zero sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
Hello and welcome to Slogging It. There's usually three of us that record this podcast, and myself, Robbo, and Jono, but it's just me tonight, I'll have you know. And for those of you wondering if it's going to be Eugene talking for 20 minutes in a monologue, I can guarantee you it's not that. I do have a very good friend of mine and somebody that I play with at Twickenham Cricket Club joining us in Devlin Tomlinson. How are you, Dev? You well?
Good, Huge. Very, very good. Very good. I think you speaking to yourself for 20 minutes happens on a regular basis on the field normally. So
It does, especially when some of the boys aren't listening to the tactics that I've come up with. No, we'll talk about that on another episode. First of all, you've just come back from South Africa. You had a 2-month holiday. We're all joking. It was a holiday. You actually worked while you were out there. How was South Africa?
Good. It was obviously families back home still. So to be honest, anything to evade the English winter, I think trying to push it as far out as possible. A little bit of that taste of sunshine and a bit of cricket in the air. So obviously going back home and seeing the family was great. It's always a great time in South Africa. I think December and Jan is, very, everyone downs tools and it's very boisterous and very family oriented. So it was great. It was good I definitely pushed it a bit further than I normally do. Bit of sledging from the friends, but yes, it was great to be there. I could have stayed a bit longer, to be fair. Definitely could have stayed.
I tell you what, it was just jealousy getting the better of us, seeing you in the baking hot, getting all that vitamin D in South Africa. It was just coming from a place of jealousy, Devin. So don't take it too seriously. Yeah. But while you were out there, did you watch much of the SA20?
Yeah, quite a lot. Actually, I did end up going to quite a few games. Actually, I had quite a few friends, quite involved, I think, from a bit more of a hospitality point of view. I think, obviously, with the music and kind of all the presenting and all that kind of stuff. It was very inclusive, I think, in that front. But it was just quite fun, actually, to see Devin show up for the first time in one of those series, as the Dolphins have been a bit lackluster over the years. So great to see Keshav doing well, and bumped into them a couple of times. Obviously, I was flipping between Durban and Cape Town and Joburg for work and holiday, but I ended up bumping into them 3 times on flights, ironically. The one time actually on the actual plane, but it was good to see Reece Topley there as well. And yeah, obviously Klaasen was incredible. I was at one of those games where we knocked, he made 50 off nothing again. The sound that comes off that man's bat is incredible. But yeah, it was great to be back. Hadn't been at Kingsmead in a very long time, but Newlands is just something special. It's
not called that anymore, is it?
Well, yes, you're right. It has changed.
it's the Hollywood Bets.
Correct.
Yeah,
which is quite similar to another stadium this side of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, Brentford, for those people that do support Brentford. Yeah. A few of us do, but yeah. The problem with this tournament, the SA20 that just transpired, and I said this to the lads on the other podcast, is it gives you something called hope, which is horrible considering we have a T20 World Cup coming up in June, and you're looking at how well some of these South African boys are playing in Ryan Rickleton, and there's so much talent coming through. And like I said, it just gives you that hope that maybe South Africa's got a chance. But, what are your thoughts?
Well, there was a wise friend of mine, Andrew Riddle, which we both know, that once told me it's the hope that kills you, and I think during the ODI World Cup, it was definitely, because there was that glimmer that entered back into my head. We could have done the triple, with Bafana getting close. But yeah, I think, again, as a country, it's a weird thing. We almost avoid thinking about it or talking about it until about a third of the way in the tournament, and then everyone starts picking up their heads because South Africa's dark horse favourites to win the thing again. And then, the next thing, it's a semi-final and it's a last ball thriller, and we somehow seem to always know how to do it at the wrong time in those games. But yeah, the hope kills you, but you've got to be positive as a South African, I guess. We're always hopeful that we can get there. I think in T20 we've got more of a chance. Huge.
You're stressed out, can't sleep, and you're in pain, and nothing in your medicine cabinet works. There's a different way. CBD from CB Distillery. CB Distillery's targeted formulations are made from the highest quality clean ingredients. No fluff, no fillers, just pure effective CBD solutions. If you struggle with a health concern, make the change to CB Distillery and get 20% off your entire purchase. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code HEALTH. That's cbdistillery.com, code HEALTH. You're stressed out, can't sleep, and you're in pain, and nothing in your medicine cabinet works. There's a different way. CBD from CB Distillery. CB Distillery's targeted formulations are made from the highest quality clean ingredients. No fluff, no fillers, just pure effective CBD solutions. If you struggle with a health concern, make the change to CB Distillery and get 20% off your entire purchase. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code HEALTH. That's cbdistillery.com, code HEALTH. You're stressed out, can't sleep, and you're in pain, and nothing in your medicine cabinet works. There's a different way. CBD from CB Distillery. CB Distillery's targeted formulations are made from the highest quality clean ingredients. No fluff, no fillers, just pure effective CBD solutions. If you struggle with a health concern, make the change to CB Distillery and get 20% off your entire purchase. Visit cbdistillery.com and use code HEALTH. That's cbdistillery.com, code HEALTH.
Yeah, exactly that.
Hopefully.
Look,
Yeah.
we'll catch up with you when it comes to that in June timeframe and see what your thoughts are on it. But for the time being, we're here to review a certain test match that recently completed, that being the India versus England third test. Did you get to much watch it?
I didn't get to see most of the beginning, but I mean, it was quite interesting to see towards the latter end. Just again, I guess an England team that still seems to misfire when it comes to batting lineup. You know, there's always a one man band when it comes to either holding it together. There was some interesting stuff, but I was quite shocked, to be honest, to see the result. I didn't expect that kind of drubbing on the final day to England on their second innings. I think it's kind of par for the course now, seeing England's bottom order kind of topple away. I think we've seen that in numerous sides in our cricket too. But I mean, it's just it's a shame. I think like you said, Indian wickets are difficult, but these are top boys that are doing some great stuff. And I don't know, it's just again getting beaten by that is a hefty margin.
Yeah, the thing is though, it's the depth that worries me about Indian cricket, and I think any nation needs to be worried, because you look at who's missing. They're missing Kohli, they're missing Rahul. The youth that's now coming through in people like Jaswal and Khan that's came through, the keeper, Jarrell. I mean, they've got the Jadeja batting at 5, and I looked at that scorecard going, crikey, he's in 6, 7, or 8, and well, what do I know about cricket, right? He goes up and tons up in the first innings, and I mean, it's just the pure depth. And obviously, a certain small tournament that they hold, there seems to be uncovering this talent in the IPL. It's just more and more talent that they keep uncovering. And the thing for me is, and again, we've said this on the pod a few times, if you've listened to it, is it's amazing how these guys are multi-format cricketers. They start off as T20 specialists, but then, convert themselves into test cricketers. But yeah, I mean, what a knock by, first of all, Jaiswal, another big 100 in the second innings. But when the man's down in Rohit Sharma, what does he go and do? I was giving him absolute gears after the first 2 tests for scoring 80 runs in 4 innings, and then he goes and scores 130. So
he always ceases to amaze. Yeah, he's like the gift that keeps on giving, Rohit Sharma. He's always there. I think even the World Cup too, I think he showed his mettle again in that. But I think over the test match, I was super impressed with that second innings by Jaiswal. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think IPL, what it does is it creates, people have found this new way of entering into the cricket world through theatre, that IPL, you've got to announce yourself in the cricketing world through that. And if you make it, then, you go into the test arena where, as previously, I think in decades prior, it was the other way around. I think T20 was kind of seen as the end of the career, not the beginning of the career, which is quite interesting. I think the timeline of a cricketer's life cycle is very different at the moment, which is interesting. So, yeah, very impressed. I think, a game, a double 100 in the second innings to push them out of the game like that was incredible. And I think, like you said, the first 2 innings as well with those guys was great. Khan and Khan had a good little knock on his first day out too. Yeah.
Yeah, poor guy. First innings, parents are there. I mean, I saw him get handed his cap, and his dad was in tears, and then old Ravinder Jadeja goes and tries to take a single on 99, absolutely barbecues him, gets him run out, and then I don't think I've seen an expression from Rohit Sharma like that. He literally got up and chucked his hat down inside of the dressing room. And then, poor old Dejaja, when he gets his 100 eventually, very subdued, celebration, poor guy. But yeah, I mean, we've all been there, right? All barbecued a mate on something, and well, yeah, it's part of cricket, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's never with malintent, but I guess it's always interesting to see that they are human at the end of the day too.
Absolutely, true to form. Whoever wins the toss wins the game so far in this series. I'm not saying that that's going to happen in every game, but it's been true to form. So, you look at how England were blown away in that second innings by the spin attack of, I mean, Ashwin even came back after. Hopefully his mom's all okay, because I know he had to take some leave. So best wishes with Ashwin and his family. But I saw he even came back towards the end of the test after, what a great accolade to get his 500th wicket.
500th wicket, amazing. I did see that actually. Yeah, incredible. He's been a staple of that team for a very long time. So I think amazing for him. I think him and Jadeja, geez, what a unit those two have been over the years. Yes, on Indian pitches, it's impossible to play those two. So,
and then you've got Kuldeep Yadav also coming to the fore. I mean, Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami only bowled 13 overs between them, and the next 26 were between the spinners. So. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the wickets in India. I'm just saying that they are very conducive to spin, and it is a test. But I do want to bring one thing up with you. I can't remember a test going the 5 days at the moment. Do we need to start thinking, or does world cricket need to start thinking about shortening tests back to 4 days? Or I say back to 4 days. And there's a reason for that. When you look at all of these test series, like the recent one where South Africa toured New Zealand, they only had a 2-match test series. Those only lasted 4 days. If they shorten them to 4 days as a format, not 5, maybe have a slightly shorter rest period between them, because it doesn't look like they're working that hard. I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm just saying that the test matches seem to be going true to form. So maybe converting the full days that they're traveling for, and instead of having a two-match test series, converting it to 3. But interested to hear your thoughts on what you think of a 5-day test versus a 4-day test.
Well, I think as a purist, I mean, again, my girlfriend always alludes to this, how can you play 5 days of cricket? She always laughs when I tell her that, but it's the purist's, game, the 5-day game. But to answer your question, I think, Test cricket, I do take my hat off to what the English team have done over the last, 18 months. I think, due to popular demand, they've definitely come out and changed the way we look at Test cricket. But yes, I think something needs to change. I think we look at all other sports, look at all other disciplines. If you're looking in different sport worlds, whether it's rugby, whether it's golf, whether it's cricket, whether it's tennis, everyone has to evolve. And I think as much as the 5-day game for me is the purest form, it does need to evolve in some way. There needs to be certain things where, even something like you said, maybe it's 4 days and the 5th day becomes an option if the teams want to go down that route. I think the idea of a 5th day on the odd chance that they want to go down that route, but I'd say 90% of test matches these days don't even make it to the end of the 4th day, hence the South African one that I went to. I mean, I got all excited, Eugene, in South Africa. I think it was just post New Year's. Taking my girlfriend for the first time to Newlands. I was excited. I've had quite a lot of history at Newlands watching, that whole sandpaper incident, which was quite crazy. And I've seen some interesting things on that ground. And for me to take my girlfriend there, I was really proud, to head down and sit down on the field. And guess what? 30 minutes later, Virat Kohli obviously nicked one off, which was, was unfortunate right at the end. But that game was over in 2 days, 2 and a bit days. I think we had half an hour of cricket that I got to enjoy, and the test match was over on day 2. And I just, I think about the commercials for that, people that wanted to watch that, vendors, just the whole ancillary piece, everyone kind of didn't get their money's worth, or the cricketers, I think, might be feeling a bit embarrassed about that. But I think that the game has changed so much from this T20 format in a positive direction that I think we've all forgotten about the test match format, and we haven't evolved that. I think there's definitely some things to evolve in that format that could definitely make it more appealing for viewers and for cricketers.
Yeah. I mean, it's commercials, right? And I don't know if you heard the last episode that we recorded. I mean, West Indies cricket run at a loss when they have a test match in the West Indies. When they have an ODI, they make $1 million. So, when it comes to, I guess, the eyes on TV, the sponsorship agreements, unfortunately, the commercials of Test cricket are not there unless you're part of the big three,
Correct.
that being India, England, and Australia. But when you look at the rest of the nations, unfortunately, there's not the draw. I'm sure that the Ashes, when it was over here last year, I'm sure that was successful and there was a lot of money that was there. In actual fact, that's probably the only one of the few tests that I can think of that went full 5 days. And from memory, it was also rain affected. And that's the reason we got to see, 5 days of cricket. So I suppose I'm answering my own question there, in that I do remember one test, and that was during the Ashes. But I had sore feet, for those of you that didn't know that we were.
Better you than me doing that, huge. But I agree completely. But again, I think 5-day cricket, and I look to, again, I heard back to this because I always use her as an example, but she really enjoyed, my girlfriend really enjoyed the Ashes, because there was character, there's a storyline, there's a build up, there's, I think it's all the peripheral things that make a test match more exciting than the actual game. It's all the small little challenges, the little one-on-ones and the head-to-heads that get kind of pulled apart. Whereas I think you're right in saying that I think it's the top three that have kind of, I think there's too much disparity from the top and the bottom for me in Test cricket. I don't want to watch Bangladesh play against Sri Lanka, two great cricketing nations, but in a Test match, I'd get bored, I guess, watching after day 2 or 3, even like in India.
Well,
India,
hang on, before you move on from that, would you watch it in an ODI or a T20, those two sides?
Yes.
See. So that explains a little bit, I guess, it's mentality, right?
I think it's
everyone, not just us.
Yeah, I think, but what I'm saying is, I think you are right in that there are ways to combat that. I think the commercials make sense, but shortening it and putting smaller nuances into the game, specific power plays or certain elements of the game that can be altered, there could definitely be, we've converted the 100 to being even a quicker form of T20, for example. So why can't, I think the 4-day cricket, I know already works in the county area, but there definitely needs to be a commercial look at the 5-day game, and how do we make it more inviting and more of an experience, is what I'm saying, for consumers and viewers, but at the same time for cricketers, so they enjoy it more. I think that 4 days is a long time, 4 or 5 days, but when you're on that field and you're enjoying it, yes, we could be out there for 30 days and we wouldn't blink an eye.
We're sort of answering our own question by saying this, but the purists, that people that followed cricket for the past 20, 30 years, even 15 years, are the ones that'll go to Test matches and enjoy literally watching a guy bowl or throw a rock down at another guy, where somebody, like you were saying, your girlfriend, Chloe, in who's new to cricket, she prefers the razzle dazzle of something like the 100 or the T20. Now, how do we incorporate that? It's almost like you come from a bit of a commercial background, especially when it comes to events. It's almost like you've done this before, not in cricket, but maybe in bars and pubs, effectively. Dev, are you suggesting that maybe like the Super Bowl, they have during the lunch break, there's almost a mini concert that goes on?
Well, I'm just saying, like, if I got thrown the bone, I would say, how do we incorporate the crowd? Back in the days, we used to get all the kids on the field, and that's what I really enjoyed, Eugene, about the Betway T20. I think Graham and the guys have done an incredible job. We had quite a few extensive beverages together one night in Cape Town when I saw Kevin Peterson there too, and it's a spectacle, but also at the same time it's inclusive for everyone, from the kids to the adults to the teenagers. Everyone gets included, and I think it's that involvement that people feel like they're part of the fixture, they're part of the atmosphere. It's not just about the cricket game. I can't tell you how many games I used to go to Kingsmead as a junior. I never watched one ball because I was having so much fun, with playing. You end up playing in the back corners and the corridors, you're getting signatures from the guys, and I feel like it's lost a little bit of that shine that's for spectators. It's a purist game, and if you don't like it, move on, kind of thing. And yeah, I think that there's a lot to add to that. I think, bringing music into it, bringing family into it, getting them included into it, letting them meet the guys, and getting a little bit more of that interaction. I think it's lost a little bit of that customer shine, I think, for these events.
I wish our conversations would actually make a difference, but these are just our opinions on how things work.
Exactly.
If we could change the world, we would, but unfortunately it's not for us. Before we do finish up, I'm interested in your thoughts on the South African side that toured New Zealand, and obviously it was only a 2-match Test series. New Zealand won comfortably on both accounts, but again, I guess it comes down to the commercials. The SA20 is now the second richest T20 competition in the world. sending a side to New Zealand, which probably isn't going to make those individuals the same amount of money. What are your thoughts on the disparity there?
Yeah, I think firstly, money aside, we're such a proud cricketing nation, and I think for the first time I felt slightly shocked. I think that they chose that over, holding together a record. I actually saw a stat the other day about Graham Smith's tenure, obviously as a test captain, and never losing a test match at the helm. And it's kind of those things. Usually, we've got such a proud cricketing history, and then we send a team that, albeit there's some great players, and there's no one holding that team together. From Dean Elgar was incredible for a number of years, but with a team as strong as New Zealand, you're going to come up well short for that. So I get it. The commercials on one side, you can look at it from two different lenses. The Betway is going to put South Africa back on the map from a cricketing community, which I see the positives. Yes, is Test cricket and South African Test cricket going to be at the, kind of fall to the wayside because of that? I think, there might be, unfortunately, the collateral for the gain in Betway T20 is the loss of South African Test cricket to a certain extent. The purists are kind of moving their way because they know commercially, salaries and stuff, and, moving to the UK to play cricket here, or whether it's, playing in those international circuits, you're not going to be able to make a living huge. I think it comes down at the end of the day, what are you doing for yourself? You're doing it for the passion, or you're doing it for your family. And I think, sometimes those do collide. It's quite hard to put someone on the spot with that. But I think in South Africa, sometimes they have to make a choice, which is difficult.
Yeah. I mean, we do have to congratulate Kane Williamson on another fantastic, set of hundreds, I guess we could call it, because of the way he's batting. He's now caught up with the other three in the big four. I mean, he's now up there with Steve Smith and Rohit Kohli back on the hundreds trail. He's now catching up with him. And I suppose just a last little bit to thanking you, or those of you that messaged me saying congrats on my test debut. It was in fact not me that was paying. It was Sean Bunderberg. I know we do look very similar. He's also in shape. Let's go with that. Yeah, thank you for all of you that did message me congratulating me on my test debut. And it was funny because I didn't reply the whole of last week when I was getting all of these messages, because I was at a work conference, not playing cricket for South Africa and New Zealand.
Well, huge. I think you could have definitely played the way you played last season. I'm hoping you're back on track again this season.
Well, it's the Woodstock here that we use, right? I mean, they do sponsor the podcast. You might as well squeeze them in, even though they're not here today, old Jono. So
I mean, listen, you're not going to put 340 for a fourth wicket partnership against Teddington,
Yeah, for sure. Dev, it's been great having you on. Before we do go though, test match predictions. What do you think the end India versus England score going to be? Obviously, India 2-1 up at the moment. 2 tests to play. What do you think it's going to be?
I think knowing England, I know England definitely have a fight in them. I do give them a lot of credits. For a lot of there's a couple of boys in that team that really stand up. But I think one word that evades them huge is consistency. So unfortunately, I do think they'll take one of the last 2 tests, but I do think it's going to be a 3-2 to India. I think we're going to see 2 results, and unfortunately, I think it is going to be I do think it might be 3-1, and then England in the last test will really shape up. I think it's one of those for me. But India are huge. When it's ragging like that, a very difficult team to beat. So I back England to get one under the belt, but not take the series.
I'd be quite interested if India chose the toss and for a change didn't choose to bat first, but maybe chose to bowl first, just to show that they can beat England in any conditions, and it's not about the pitch ragging second in England's second innings. But yeah, I wish I was as optimistic as you. I did make a statement today saying that Ashwin wasn't even playing for some of it. Kohli's not available. India could have played with 8 players, and I still think they would have beaten India in these conditions. I don't know what the next 2 pitches look like, but I'm going to stick with my original thoughts of 4-1. So I'm going for India to continue winning the next 2 tests. So yeah,
a bit of a sting. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't put it past. I think I've got more hope than you, and them clawing one back.
I love it. Dev, thanks for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. Great to catch up. And we'll see you at Nets shortly. Yeah,
very shortly. I'm excited for season. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Thanks, bud. Speak to you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, you. Bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.